Hello, lieutenants. Cappy had too much fun last night, and he had a lot of fun last night. And so, what better way to cure a hangover than to read through economics? And that's what we're going to do. We have a video request from a client, an agent in the field. He wants me to dissect this article, Why the U.S. Government Never Ever Has to Pay Back All of Its Debt. And it's written by Matthew O'Brien. I'm going to look into him later. But it's a lying sack of shit piece. It's intellectually dishonest. He thinks he's being coy. The tone of reading it, I just want to beat the shit out of this guy. I know that won't solve anything. It just feel good. But in other words, I'm saying the author of this piece is disingenuous, and he knows it. And he's just a fucking whore for the left. He is. He's just a shill. Because mathematically, your simple math grade, your 5th grade mathematical brain knows you cannot spend more than you make. You cannot consume more, or you cannot spend more than you consume. This is a law of physics. Now, there are some machinations and some very interesting things going on in the international economic markets that allow the U.S. a little bit more time. But Rome fell, the United States will fall, and any country, even if it has the world currency reserve dollar status, will collapse. So we're going to take this down bit by bit. How are children, grandchildren, and sundry of other friends and relatives too young to see an R-rated movie? See, you just want to beat the shit out of them off the bat. Cocksucking son of a bitch. Ever be unaccompanied, ever paying back the entire debt government is piling up now. Easy, they won't. The U.S. government is never completely debt-free, except for that one time it sold land to the seized from the Native Americans. There's only one thing you know about the government. It's not a household. Okay, we're going to stop right here, this household argument. It doesn't matter whether you're a household made of humans or anything, or a corporation. You are an economic entity. And, ceteris paribus, if you spend more than you make, people will stop lending you money. So, just because the government is not a household, that has the... You could just tell he's like been sucking off the dick of Keynes. You know, Keynes' dick is right there, and he's giving it the best blowjob he can. And who knew Matt was gay? So that's a nice little argument they like to throw around, but I'm telling you, it's a falsehood. Unless, again, you have like a unique situation where the U.S. is, where we're the least sucky country in the world, and therefore everyone wants our dollars, and therefore we can borrow in ad infinitum until a point. It doesn't matter if you're a household, a corporation, a government, whatever. Any entity that spends more than it makes will inevitably, it's not sustainable, and people will stop lending it money because it's parasitic. That's what it is. Because if the government, unlike us, doesn't need to pay back its debts before it dies, because it doesn't die. Barring secession or sneak attack, yeah, but okay. In other words, the government can just roll over its debts in perpetuity. So let's just borrow trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, just keep rolling over in perpetuity, right? I mean, come on, you can do that, right? No, you can't. Obviously, see, take this idiot's logic to the next step. Well, if that's the truth, then we have like the solution to end everything, all poverty, all what, we just spend as much money as we can. Free ponies for everybody. Well, because that results in inflation. But again, Matt's too busy sucking Keynes' dick to, anything get into his head. That's the point Michael Kinsley misses when he says we can't borrow forever. In an otherwise fine column trying to convince unemployment and deficit hawks that they can actually agree on a barbell approach, stimulus now, austerity later, to fiscal policy. We can, and in fact, have borrowed forever, and that doesn't mean our debt burden will go up further either. As you see in the chart below, he made a chart. Liptick made a chart. The government dramatically decreased its debt-to-GDP ratio in the 3 decades following World War II, despite only running deficits during that time. And for the once, he's right. If all he wanted to say is that you can only grow yourself out of debt in recessions, that's true. And his whole point is that debt to GDP, because, you can always look at debt as the nominal figures, how many trillions, how many billions, it doesn't matter. It's relative to your GDP, which is comparing the amount of debt you have to the amount of money you make or your income. And that's a very wise comparison. And he is right that if GDP grows, We could have like 18 trillion in debt today is 110% GDP. That sucks. It really does suck. But if we were to grow, and then 20 years from now we have 35 trillion in GDP instead of the 15 trillion in GDP we have today, that would make our current debt relatively low. The only problem is, because Matt is a limp dick fuck who is sucking Keynes' dick, is that economic growth is not growing. It's slowing down. My favorite chart in all of my chartiness is the rolling 20-year average GDP growth. We used to be growing. I'm going to say it again. So dickheads like this, I don't even know why I'm even debating this guy. He knows he's lying. Economic growth was 4.5% back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, if you average it out over those 20 years. Today, it's 2.5%. We cannot rely on this. Well, we'll just grow out of it. It just, because it's not there. As long as GDP his premise, I'm shooting it out right now. I'm shooting Matt's premise out right now. Economic growth is not increasing that much. It is not. We cannot rely on GDP growth to lessen, relative to the size of GDP, government debt. So if this is his whole argument, this is what he's pinning it on, that premise is flawed, and it's going to suck to be him, or suck to be the United States. So he is right in that regard, but this premise is going away. We're not growing that fast anymore. We're just not Western civilization enough. We just care about the flowers and global warming and all that other great crap. Here's the budget math. I'd love to be the budget math. Between 1946 and 1974, debt to GDP fell from 121 to 32%. Even though government only ran surpluses in 8 of those years. Yes, that's because nominal GDP, just the cash size of the economy, grew much faster than the debt did. Yeah, okay, as Greg Ip of The Economist point, don't read The Economist anymore. Don't. They endorsed Barack Obama twice. That's all I got to say about The Economist. So you know what, that'd be like me writing Tits and Bras quarterly. I don't have tits and I've never worn a bra. So why would I write an article or claim to be an authority called Tits and Bras quarterly? I wouldn't. But The Economist is not headed up by economists. It's headed up by a bunch of fucking leftist douchebag shills who are in their 20s and 30s and don't know jack shit about economics. Fast nominal GDP growth and easy monetary policy that requires... No, right there's a lie. There's a lie. Fast GDP growth does not require easy monetary policy. There's no... Okay, look, guys. Monetary policy only affects prices and your currency. It does not affect economic growth. It doesn't. If monetary policy affected economic growth, Japan should be fucking kicking everyone's ass right now. We should be like not growing at sporadic growth that we're growing now. So that's a lie right there. Okay? It just, and this is why I believe this guy. He writes too arrogantly to think he doesn't know what he's lying about, but he's lying here. So that's wrong. Economic growth does not require monetary policy. It requires stable prices. It requires government to get the fuck out of the way. But it does not require low. If monetary policy was the key to everything, well, then we just print off a shit ton of money, lower interest rates to 0%. And, we have been doing that. Oh, how's it going? Oh, that's right. Because Matt's got Keynes' dick in his mouth. Matt, do you talk at all, or is Keynes' dick always in your mouth? I mean, do you go, or is it your only means to type? What's it like having Keynes' dick in your mouth wherever you go? It must be kind of like an interesting thing when you order a Subway sandwich. I'm just wondering. Is the only way governments have ever successfully reduced debt ratios in the past. No, austerity alone will fail. No, God. Okay, I already debunked him. See Europe, see fucking Japan, see US. There is no austerity. What is austerity in Europe? Aren't they all running deficits? What austerity? There's no austerity being ran. The guy who sent this video request. He's in a debate with a bunch of leftists, and they sent him this article. It's obvious no one read through the article to see if this is even true. And already, we're not even a third through it, and already it's pockmarked with lies. And I'm not even being political. I'm serious. These are lies. These are falsehoods. This is wrong information. This is like diagnosing someone that has a brain tumor, saying, he's got a cold, and giving him NyQuil. It doesn't work. You're not going to solve this problem. So this is it's not a poorly written article. It's a purposely wrongful, lying, deceitful piece of propaganda. I don't know who's paying them. I mean, he could just be an ideologue, or he's just an outlandish dipshit, but this person is wrong. This is not worth paper. The Atlantic should fire this guy because he does not contribute anything of value to advancing the understanding of economics and the progress of this or any other nation. So, and that's not opinion. This is, well, I mean, it is opinion whether he should be fired or not. But it's not opinion that this guy is wrong on everything he said so far about economics, except for the chart and GDP. That's it. That's the only, because that's numerical. I go, well, we need the military. Blah. Okay, so maybe endless debt and deficits aren't a problem, but won't bond markets go gold on us if we don't start getting our fiscal house in order? And even if the bond vigilantes turn out to be more like Godot, won't ever-increasing debt lead to ever-decreasing gold? Well, as Michael Konzal of the Roosevelt Institute points out, I don't know who that guy is. I've never heard of him. Is he Mark Perry? Is he fucking Steve Heston? I never heard of this guy. Of the off-cited Rogoff Reinhardt 90% debt to GDP, I've never heard of him either, and I'm an economist. Maybe I just haven't been in academia. Maybe that's the problem. You're not only sucking Keen's dick, your head is up Keen's ass in academia, and only you have heard of this shit. After which growth supposedly slows, hasn't been proven. It hasn't? No, it has been proven. Look at economic growth in the Western European countries that have debt to GDPs over 100%. Look at Japan, look at the United States. This has been proven. What do you mean you just blanketly say it hasn't been proven? No, it has. It has. Everyone's worried about economic growth. That's the problem right now. Everyone's, we're going to get the economy going again. Why are you guys all rushing to monetary policy, bringing down zero interest rates and printing off money? And now you're going to say that's not happening? So to the guy who requested it, I'm sorry to keep picking on Matt because he's sucking Keen's dick. To the guy who requested this is a wrong, false article. There's so many, and it's not opinion. You have to understand this is not opinion. It's outright lies. It's lies. Now he's right. The only thing so far that's correct is that you can't grow yourself out of debt. That's almost the only way you can do it nowadays because everyone doesn't like paying down their debts because they're Americans and they're Westerners and spoiled ass cunts. But aside from that, this is just it's wrong. It's factually wrong. He is saying 2 + 2 = 3. I don't know what else to. I wish it was a more complicated argument, but it's just a correlation. If anything, it probably gets causation backwards with low growth driving deficits and debts, and not vice versa. Now, high deficits during high growth could crowd out private investment. What high growth? See, again, there's no high growth. Go look at this guy has never looked at the OECD's data. He never has. He's never looked at it. And interest rates are the fabled bond vigilantes, but it could bankrupt us. I'll agree. We borrow in a currency we control, so we can never run out of it. Well, that is true. Yes, we can always inflate it. Right, inflate as the last resort. Right, and what happens then? Well, you essentially steal from that protected middle class and everybody, especially the poor. You inflate your currency, you're stealing money from people with their purchasing power. So I love how he just kind of dismisses, like, well, we can always print off more money. Yeah, we can. And the only reason we can get away with it and not have inflation is because we're the world currency reserve. We're the reserve currency of the world. So everyone wants to buy. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because all the other countries suck more. But that's the only way we can get away with it and allows this pompous, arrogant ass, who once again has Keen's dick in his mouth, to take this pompous attitude and tone with his outright lie of an article. This is sad. The Atlantic is. Who the fuck is the editorial of the Atlantic? This money printing escape hatch protects us from the kind of self-fulfilling run where markets push up borrowing costs in fear of default, which perversely makes default more likely. That had plagued Europe before the ECB chief Mario Draghi promised to do whatever it takes to save the euro. The worst we have to fear is some kind of replay of 1992 with rising interest payments forcing some combination of tax hikes or spending cuts. So we do have to cut the spending. There's a little bit more to fear than fear itself, but not too much more. I don't know what the fuck he just said, frankly. I'm a smart guy, and I don't know what the fuck he just said, frankly. That's where they talk, oh, well, you see this one time it happened? You know, not all the Jews were killed in Germany, so it was an okay place. See this one guy, he was like, all right. That leaves us with one last reason to worry and one not to. Long-term healthcare spending is on an unsustainable trajectory, but there are some signs that might already be slowing. Signs? I'm sorry, I'm going to take the estimates of unfunded liabilities. I'm going to use that, which have been estimated on the low end, 35 trillion, on the high end, 120 trillion. I'm going to take those over you. And links, links. It might already be slowing. It maybe, possibly, could be. You understand how weak this article is. Look, this is like having a styrofoam shield in a battle. I mean, if the left, whoever you're arguing with, gives it like, look, see, that's not impervious. It's not even a shield. It's lies, it's deceit, it's speculation, and it's hope. There's no hard data or facts. That's the worry. The reason not to is the world's insatiable appetite for our debt. Okay, that's our saying. Look, he even admits it. That's the worry. The reason not to is the world's insatiable appetite for our debt. Treasury bonds are kind of money for the financial sector. Yes, shadow banks in particular use them as collateral to fund day-to-day operations, and they're a kind of money the financial system desperately needs more of now. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I know they'd like to have it, but the world could get by without the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. But he is right. This is the only thing. So here, there's a bit of honesty with him. And that is, everyone else is willing to bail us out because we're less sucky. Now, think about that. Everybody else sucks more than us. Therefore, we can borrow into infinity? How long will that last? See, and this is why it's so disingenuous. This idiot assumes that the United States is always going to be better than every other country. And right now, I can't believe it, but we actually are. With our Kim Kardashian, our fucking retarded millennials and Gen X and baby boomers, we are actually better, even with all those losers, have everything going against us, with the people who don't want to work, with our peers. We're purely becoming a generation of a country of parasites, is what we're becoming. Fuck colonialism, fuck mercantilism, fuck imperialism. You want to talk about when the U.S. fucks over the world? It's now, because our generation does not fucking work. We don't. That's why everybody over in Taiwan and China are like fucking making all the real shit. And we got fucking broads majoring in fucking communications becoming marketing consultants. What the fuck is that? So the fact that we are not as corrupt and is not as fucktarded as the rest of the countries of the world, that makes our dollar wonderful. And according to Matt, which he's right, we could just print off as much money because people will lend it. They'll give it. They're coming to here for a safe haven. What if that ends, dipshit? See, my client is not arguing with leftists on the status of the dollar as the world's currency, reserve currency. That's not what he's debating. He's debating about whether this is sustainable in the long run, regardless of whether we have reserve currency status or not. Regardless of where we're getting bailed out on. I mean, you're literally making the argument like, well, see, the banks did fine, well, because they got bailed out by the government. So the banks are okay. That's the exact same argument you're making now, Matt, with Keen's dick in your mouth. So far in your mouth, probably coming out of your nostril. I don't know what Keen's dick looked like. I'm like, oh, that was too crass. I don't give a fuck. I'm hungover. So, I mean, if you're in the world of bailout, get by on technicalities, ignore the general principle of economics and economic production and growth, well, yeah, then you could write this article, see, we're the dollar, we're number one, USA, USA. Well, yeah, sure, but that doesn't change the fact that my client is right. And his leftist liberal idiots are wrong, and if they're citing this dickhead, this fucking moron, this hypocrite, this liar, I think you're smart enough. You know you're lying, you're being deceitful. You're right too. Well, he's a good writer, I'll admit that, but it belies that you're too smart to know, that actually believe this bullshit, or you're just that bad of an economist you haven't thought that one through. Well, wait a minute, what if we lose the dollar currency status? What happens then? This brave new financial world. No, it's not brave, it's cowardly. Everyone likes us. Give us your money. Okay. Now we're going to just like piss it away on crap we don't need. This brave new financial world was in embryonic form just 30 years ago, but is so... No, it happened after World War II. It happened after World War II, and we're pretty much the only country left standing. That's when it happened. But is so developed today that demand for our debt is much less elastic than you might think. You're relying on the elasticity of demand for our debt. Oh my God. Holy fuck. In other words, don't think of the children. The government should. keep borrowing today and tomorrow and every day after that. Being a government means you can borrow forever. Well, you can borrow forever, but it's important relative to GDP. And that's why this the last statement there is, it shows you proof positive that he's deceitful. He's using terms that he has studied economics, but he's purposely ignoring. He's on purpose being dishonest and intellectually dishonest. He's being dumb. He's playing stupid. And it shows in that last one. We could borrow forever. No, you can't. As long as, under the premise that, like, you know, people keep bailing us out and the U.S. dollar is the reserve status and every other country sucks compared to us, yes, then we could. But that is not a premise that will hold forever. And it's not a premise that should be debated in realms of economics as a study or science or discipline. I don't think it's a science or a discipline. I think it's bullshit anyway. But if you really want to be intellectually honest, be smart, have a conversation like my client did, you'll say, oh yeah, but this is only temporary, or it only is allowed because people keep bailing us out. That's what it is. But to take such an arrogant tone, in other words, don't think of the children. The government should keep borrowing today and tomorrow and every day after that. Being a government means you can borrow forever. This kid's an idiot. This guy, he's wrong. He's just wrong. It's not that he's dumb. I don't think he's dumb. I think he knows he's lying. It's worse. This, the devil or dupes, like, the dupes are like the idiots that believe, look, yeah, man, you didn't build that. Like, Obama's a dupe. He really is fucking stupid. This guy knows better. He's a devil. He knows exactly what he's doing. He doesn't believe a word he's writing. He is trying to propagate a leftist cause. And that's what it is. So to address my client's concern, basically, when the left, this is not a valid, legitimate, truthful, or accurate piece. This is not a counter-argument. I know it's a counter-argument they presented, but when I look at it, it's just full of lies and deceits, and it all hinges on everyone bailing us out. That's it. So if you're arguing more of a philosophical standpoint, can't we just borrow forever? No, not all governments can. Look at Argentina, look at Cyprus, look at all these other places, look at Greece. You can't do it. But if they're using this, it's on such a thin technicality that they're quote right, or that this is an argument, but they're wrong. It's just more leftist gobbledygook. It's just lies. I don't care how many pages that guy writes. It's wrong. It's a lie. So, you know, good luck to you trying to get your leftist friends to believe that or understand or have enough knowledge about economics to realize what a worthless piece of paper this is. That's where the real debate comes in. But for your current arguments right now, this is not an argument because it's flawed. I guess that's the simplest way of putting it. And at any time, your leftist buddies can go and look up debt and GDP growth, spending, and all that other good stuff to see how valid this article is. But I'm afraid what you're going to find out with leftists is they don't care about being right or wrong. They just want to believe in what they want to believe. And no amount of data or charts or realism is going to convince them otherwise. So I don't hang out with the leftists. I just don't have time for inferior, weak-minded, intellectually dishonest liars and cheats. I don't. I just don't. Well, I hope that helps. Hope we learned a little bit. Toodles.